Hey there, I'm Bini&Eden,
And I'm Eden.
and we're the B family. On today's episode, we're going to be touching on a subject matter that a lot of people have been commenting on the comment section to talk about, and that is the education system in Uganda and the various types of educational facilities that are available. And we're going to give you a real-life comparison based on our experience between the education system in the United States as well as Uganda, including what values and cultures we learn, and specifically what everybody's wondering, what is the cost of private education in Uganda in USD? So please stay tuned, and while you're at it, subscribe, hit the notification button, and when you get a chance, please share our videos. So to start off, let's talk about where we started. And we lived in the Metro Atlanta area, specifically the DeKalb County school district. And I was educated there, and that's where we lived, and that's where we expected to educate our children. And that was our number one concern when we first started on this journey, and what brought us to moving abroad and traveling abroad and trying to look for a second home to educate and raise our children, was the poor quality of the public education system in the Metro Atlanta area, specifically DeKalb County. I'm sure a lot of you folks don't know about it, but it's one of the largest school systems in Georgia. And currently they're going through their scandal. The superintendent was recently, as of 3 to 4 days ago, indicted on federal corruption charges. I think there were 18 indictments, to be told.
Horton was placed on leave after being indicted on more than a dozen federal charges.
When me and my wife found out, we weren't surprised at all, to be honest with you. That aside, public education in the United States has been suffering from underfunding for quite some time, and that's something that was really, hitting us home and made us wonder what that future looked like for our children. As far as the private education system in the Metro Atlanta area, there's some wonderful schools, but they were just far above our budget, and it was extremely expensive. But we did get an opportunity to send our oldest son, who was around under 3 at the time, to a pre-K school. And my wife can touch up on that as far as the cost and experience that we had, because she was extremely hands-on, as she is extremely hands-on right now as we are in Uganda. So can you speak about the education system as it relates to Eli's schooling at the time?
Yeah, so this was when he was 2.5 years old. He was in a pre-K program. It wasn't Montessori, it was a different style. I can't remember the name, but it basically was a private school, daycare, and I was paying $1,200 a month for it, $1,200 USD. It was a good school, KLA Chambly. They had play base. It was very Montessori style, hands-on teaching. But that's basically one of the only options we had for a 2.5-year-old. I think the cheapest we saw then was about $800 a month, and this one was $1,200, which was the mid-range. But that's how much we were paying in the U.S. before we decided to move to Uganda.
And mind you, this is pre-K?
Pre-K, 2.5-year-old. So yeah, pre-K.
And if memory serves me correct, you were telling me that it was going to go up from there afterwards.
Yeah, it was going up. I think the year we decided to leave, it was going up to $1,500. And that's per month for a 2.5-year-old.
Okay, that's Atlanta, Georgia. What is education looking like? Where is Eli getting educated? I mean, touch up on that. Of course, I know, but talk about that experience. Before you speak on the cost, can you speak about the facility, what it looks like, the teachers? How's that accreditation looking like in Uganda?
Okay, so basically when we first decided to come to Uganda, we did get a lot of backlash from family, friends. Basically, a lot of people are asking us, questioning our responsibility and saying how we shouldn't take our children to Africa to educate them, how we're leaving the best school system in the world and experimenting with them, and we're being reckless and irresponsible. Just as of a few days ago, we got comments on the video we posted about why we left the U.S. for Uganda.
There's a lot of comments.
A lot of comments.
Especially from urchins.
There's quite a few people on there that were really angry at our decision to move to Uganda with our children and what kind of education and healthcare they might receive here. And let me just say, first and foremost, I went to school in the States as well. I grew up in Long Beach, California, and I spent some time in New York, so I've tried both school systems. And albeit this is how many years ago? a long time ago. The school system was okay. It was good enough, but I think it's declined since then. But the education that my son has been receiving at the private school in Uganda, it's called Galaxy International School of Uganda, has been far beyond anything I could have imagined. So when I came, I did expect the school to be at least comparable, if not a little better, but I didn't expect it to be this much better. I mean, the school is, he'd been going for 3 years, and 2 years of early years and first grade and second grade, actually. And it's very hands-on. The facility is extremely clean. The teachers are very, very good with the kids. Their education, I mean, I can't, it feels almost unfair to say their education in Africa is anything different. It's a good school system. It's a good school facility. There is nothing different about it. Like, I think when we tell people we're moving to Africa, a lot of people think we're going to be moving into a hut. I don't know. I don't know. Like, people really are just like dumbfounded at how, when I speak about the education, how good the education is. I mean, in early years, he was learning French as a second language already. Like, he came home and was singing songs in French to me, as well as in Swahili. They teach him swimming from day one. From, like, as a 3-year-old, he was taking swim classes once a week. They have extracurriculars, taekwondo. In second grade, my son enrolled in the chess club, and he's playing chess with kids almost twice his age. So the education system has been insanely amazing. There's nothing I can say about that. The teachers are amazing, facility clean, up to date, high tech. I mean, they use all the tech that you use in the States. They're not lacking anything. The first thing that I noticed was the children, how happy they seemed, how confident they were. Because I know one thing, you go to a school in America, like, you kind of see, like, even I was like that. Like, as a kid, you're just kind of like, oh, adult, stranger danger, don't talk to them, don't look up, don't greet them. There's this confidence that I see here in the children. They'll walk up to you and be like, hi, how are you, sir? How are you, ma'am? You know, who's your son? Where's your child? The level of confidence that these kids have, I mean, at first I was taken aback. I was kind of like, yo, this little 6-year-old is really talking to me like an adult. And I love that. That was the first thing I remember I noticed. They wear uniforms here, which I do like. It keeps the kids kind of grounded and on the same level. And I know a lot of schools in the States are starting that as well. But that's, outside of the many things that I've noticed, that's one of the main things.
Another thing I want to touch on is parent involvement. I'll swing back to you because she was the involved parent. As I started going back and forth to the United States, I would just pop my head in once in a while. But I was definitely surprised at the level of involvement of the parents themselves, mom and dads. I know you were part of the PTA.
Yeah.
So can you touch up on that? Because there is definitely a complaint. I've got a lot of friends in education. I have some understanding of the education system, but one of the major complaints is the lack of parent involvement. So can you talk about how involved the parents are or not involved based on what you saw through your parent-teacher association?
So when my son first started at Galaxy, I was just a parent. I was attending, and I noticed there how extremely involved they require you to be as a parent. I mean, I was getting every Friday you get a weekly summary of what happened in your child's class, what happened in the whole school. It's a very hands-on school system, and they are doing activities every week, whether it is a reading week or it's market week where they have to actually be vendors, and they're constantly showcasing almost your child. I felt like our son was in the newsletter at least once a month, and it's something to look forward to as a parent. So I think it really encouraged me to be like, oh, what did they do this week? What's going on? They were constantly having us do parent-teacher coffee mornings where we would have to sit and talk to them. I think every other month there is a conference where you have to sit with their teacher and discuss what happened that whole term. They're very involved. I mean, they have activities for the parents to do. They have family painting day. They have a marathon day, and they really, really try to get you involved. And when I was just a parent, I was like, this is sweet. I didn't realize how impactful it was that they were doing this, because then when I joined in. That kind of involvement and dedication made me want to join in on the PTA and kind of lend a helping hand. And that was where it opened my eyes, how involved these teachers and the school is in your child's education. They are not just that child in second grade, that the troublemaker in this class. They know your history. Like when you walk in, they're asking you every morning, hey, how are your little baby sisters? The one that we saw 2 times in the school. They really treat it like a family. And I think from what I've heard of all the private schools in Uganda, they are very hands-on. I'm really specifically talking about Galaxy, but they really do care about the family, what's going on. When I started with the PTA, I remember there were a couple of parents that were going through different things. There was a passing of a family member. There was another one that was sick in the hospital. And the school actually took a huge effort to get parents and teachers together to call these individuals, to actually visit the individuals. They ask permission, or like, oh, we've heard that there's a passing in the family. Is it okay if we send a few of our parents to come and console? That to me it felt like a community. It felt like a village. I'm like, this is a school, but I felt like Eli, all the students that I see, they really are part of a bigger family community than just classmates. Like, they're not just classmates. And the schools are very involved, and I think they give them one-on-one care. It's 10 to 12 students per class, and they get 2 teachers, sometimes 3 if they have. I think we had a couple of special needs children, and they needed more hands-on approaches, so there were extra teachers. So all the classes I saw were from 2 to 3 teachers, a teacher and a couple of assistants. So kudos. The schools are amazing. I can't say enough.
One thing that surprised me and that I enjoyed about the school was that it was a very diverse student body, meaning families from all over the world, Ugandans, Sudanese, Eritreans, Ethiopians, a lot of people from Europe, a lot of people from Asia, as well as the teacher body, the professionals working. There was a large presence of Ugandan teachers, of course. But there were also teachers from all over the world, from South Africa, from Kazakhstan, which really helped enrich the experience. I know when I was visiting, just meeting different people from so many different backgrounds gave it a sense that you were getting a world view. On another point, something I'm very big on as a parent, I love fitness, so I love when children have the time to play. When sports is a big part of education, which I'm a big proponent of. Recently in Atlanta, there was a big incident in DeKalb County where teachers actually had to fight for 30 minutes of recess time. The school district was trying to reduce it from 30 minutes to 15 minutes. 30 minutes is already not long enough, so they were trying to do it to 15 minutes. The fact that parents in the United States have to fight for recess, outside of cost, because everybody focuses on cost. If you take cost out of the equation, and we can afford anything in the world, and if that's the case, what else? And then the value system was not there for playtime, and play-based education is a big thing, and I think parents should fight for it, and I think a lot of parents out there should really focus on that as well. Now, to get to it, what was the cost of Galaxy? Do you have the numbers for us?
Yeah, so when we first started, when he was in early years, the cost was about $5,500 for the whole year. And the cost incrementally goes up. I think by year 13, that's where they stop. They stop in year 13. By then, the cost is closer to $13,000 for the whole year. But right now, in second grade, he was paying about $7,000. So that breaks it down to about, I want to say it was like 580 something, less than $600 a month. He was going to school at this private institute, compared to what I was paying when he was in pre-K, which was $1,200 a month. It's a huge cost. difference. And that being said, that is for private school in Uganda. And I think the numbers I've seen are that's about average. There are a couple of schools. I think one school is ISU that can go up to the 30,000 by the time they're in high school or seniors in high school. But the average cost of the country, I think, is between 5 and 15,000 from grade pre-K until grade 13. So I think private schools in Atlanta, when we were looking, when we first started thinking about school, when Eli was just a baby, we were looking at private school because, honestly, we were like, public schools, we're not doing it. So when we looked at the private school cost, I remember you were looking, it was like
24, I think it was approaching 24,000.
24,000 a year for pre-K and first grade, like for elementary. So yeah, it's a huge discounted rate from what we would have paid in the U.S. And I didn't attend private school in the U.S., but I don't think it would be so much better than the education. And because outside of, like you said, outside of just the education and the cost, the culture, the environment that they're in. I mean, my son can greet me in, I think, Turkish, in Chinese, in Spanish. He's got friends from all over the world, and that's, I feel like, a true definition of an international school. Like they have culture day, which I was I kind of helped. I was part of the committee to help set that up. That it was already in place. I didn't create it, obviously, but I was on the committee that worked on that. And the school goes through so much preparation for that day, and it basically showcases all of the students that are at the school, their nationalities, and there's tents built for them, there's performances. It's a huge ordeal. So it's like you're learning not just individual people, like your friend circle, but you're learning about the whole school, the whole world through the school. What their cultural food is, what their cultural attire is, what different greetings and different performances. I mean, it's just such a rich environment to have a young child immersed in, and it's a beautiful experience.
One thing that a lot of parents, especially American parents, have concern about is safety. How safe are our children in any public school right now in the United States? You just don't know. Obviously, the big elephant in the room is these school shootings, but putting that aside, how safe are the schools just in general? The bullying that is occurring in schools, how safe are they from some of the teachers in the schools? And that's something you don't have to worry about in Uganda. And I can't tell you, I didn't think that was even a thing that was keeping me from sleep until I sent my kids to Uganda, and just to have the peace of mind to know that they're safe in school, that you don't have to worry about your kids calling you over some crazy person coming in there. When you go into Galaxy, there's security all over the place, first of all. But to understand that that's the kind of culture we were leaving in the United States, I think that is peace of mind that we were looking for. This wasn't just a cost analysis. This wasn't just about running away. I wish the school systems were safer. I wish the quality of education was better. Now, when we speak about higher education, there's no better place in the world to me than the United States. That's why so many people from outside the United States, so many wealthy parents from China or Europe, South America, Latin America, send their children to get educated in higher education in the universities in America. But when it comes to these early years, the primary educations, the elementary schools, the middle schools, the high schools, unless you're living in a great school district, you're just going to be dealing with poor education systems. And that's what we faced in Atlanta when we made our decisions to move. Wasn't just about an adventure. This was really about the future of our children and what kind of future they hold. And to those parents that are wondering what kind of education I'm looking at in Uganda when I come from the United States or the UK, I want you all to understand You're not going to be sending your children to the public school. You just won't. All right. I don't recommend it. They're sorely underfunded. The teachers don't get paid enough. It's a huge issue with money, but it's a developing nation. You expect that. The quality of the private education, though, is of high standard. Now, I don't call it cheap, but you do get a bang for your buck in terms of dollar. What you spend dollar for dollar in the United States or in Europe, and what you spend in Uganda, and the quality and the value you're going to receive and the type of education that your children will receive, far, far, far better, much better, from my experience and from what my wife has experienced. It's not cheap, it's cheaper. It is quality. It has a lot of value. I don't want people coming in here and expecting, oh, I'm just going to pay $50 a month. That's just not the case. Because there's a lot of misconception. I'm going to Africa and everything is cheap. And I hate that connotation. I hate that mentality. And I want people to get away from that. Everything costs money. And especially if you're speaking about quality, especially when you're going to a developing nation. All right. So taking that into perspective, I want people to understand that the education system in Uganda is still building. It's got a long way to go, but there is quality education if you're willing to pay for it. All right. It's not affordable to the local Ugandan, but you as a person like us coming outside the country, coming from the United States, from a developed nation, hopefully one of the things you need to prepare for is this, the cost that you're going to be bearing for the education of your children. Now, if you're homeschooling, which is another option that a lot of people do, which we've done and we have looking into in the future, that's another subject matter. But if you're going to educate them in an institution in Uganda, there's quite a few private international schools that use the IB curriculum, the American curriculum, the Cambridge curriculum. And it's phenomenal. I can't speak highly enough about them, especially at Galaxy where my child was educated. Now, anything to add as far as any cons you can speak about based from your experience?
I'm trying to think of some of the cons are, at the end of the day, it is still a school with young children, and it would be unfair to say that bullying does not exist. Bullying does still exist, but I feel like the school has a handle on the bullying, and they're very prompt with their disciplinary actions. So it is still a children-based school, so you will have some of those cons. Food-wise, amazing. Sorry, I can't give you a con on that. The food is good. I actually, when I was in the PTA, I would secretly have meetings with the principals just so I can go have lunch with them. But cons, really, there's nothing I can think of. As far as comparing it with the U.S., there's nothing I can think of. There is no item on the school list, in the private sector school list, that I can think of as a con compared to the U.S.
Same here. The only thing I will say is a lot of folks just don't expect things to be free. When you want great education system, you will have to pay the bucks. And these educational facilities are not for free. They're international school standards. So one of the cons I would assume is coming from the United States, private education in Africa and around the world, to be fair, is expensive. It is expensive, but the value you get there is just phenomenal. I'd say if you call it a con, that is the only con. Expect to pay when you want quality education, like anywhere else around the world, including the United States. When you want your children educated privately, you're going to have to fork out the money. Another thing I'll touch upon is there's an array of tutors available to you that you can use throughout the country. Highly educated young population out there, brilliant young men and women. We hired a tutor not only for our staff, but there was a tutor available to our children that knew multiple languages. I couldn't even count the number of languages this young lady spoke. But there are people that can educate children in that term as well. Having said that, the education system, the private education system in Uganda is phenomenal. Now, when you compare the cost, we were paying $1,200 for not even kindergarten,
2.5-year-old.
2.5-year-old in Atlanta. So that comes down to, let's say, $500-$600 a month versus $500-$600 a month in. I'm sorry,
No,
we were
no,
paying
you were-
$1,200 a month
month.
in Atlanta
Times 10,
versus
that's
$500-$600 a month in Uganda. So you could see we were paying a far less for a better quality of education in Uganda. So those are the numbers for you. If you guys have any questions, concerns, don't hesitate to comment below. And until the next time, we're the B family, and we'll talk to you soon.
Peace out.